and it is my honor to welcome you all on behalf of the Research Foundation of India to the ninth day of our 10-day faculty development training program. This program, titled A Step-by-Step Guide to Writing a Good Research Paper, and is organized by Research Foundation of India, sponsored by Eklavya University, ARGA, EduAcademic.in, HERF, and so on. Today's session promises to be very enlightening as we delve into the art of writing research papers and understanding impact factors and publication facts. We are privileged to have with us Dr. Soni Sir, an expert in the field. Dr. Soni Sir is currently serving as an associate professor at the School of Management, GSFC University, Vadodara. Before we start the session, I would like to share a brief introduction about Dr. Soni Sir. Dr. Soni Sir is currently an associate professor at the School of Management, GSFC University, Vadodara, a position he has held since August 7, 2023. He has been guiding PhD scholars since 2022 at Veer Narmad South Gujarat University and serves as an external reviewer for PhD candidates at Indus University, Ahmedabad, and Pandit Dindayal University, Gandhinagar. Dr. Soni sir brings a wealth of experience to the table with a decade of academic experience complemented by 2.5 years of industrial exposure. His scholarly contribution include 25 publications in reputable journals such as Scopus, ABDC, and UGC-CARE. His excellence in research has been recognized with 3 Best Research Paper Awards at international conferences and sponsored by UGC and AICTE. In addition to his research accolades, Dr. Soni sir has been honored as the best faculty of the management department at Parul Institute of Management. He has presented 19 papers at various national as well as international conferences in India and the USA and has conducted 17 seminars and workshops. With these impressive credentials, it is my privilege to invite Dr. Soni sir to share his insights on understanding impact factors and publication facts. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Research Foundation of India, others, sir, for inviting me. So, welcome all the participants for the today's session. So, the today's session, we will basically guide you on, how to write a paper, what are the parameters that we have to look for the papers, and once you finished all such parameters with all the due diligence, right, in terms of the things that we have to take care as a part of scientific parameters, right? So we as a research, people, and we as a faculty, we always look forward for the publications part, right? Because it is one of the important parameters for all the faculties and academicians to have the good publications in the good quality journals, right? So when we are focusing on such parameters, we have to take care on the certain aspects, right? Because there are so many ifs and buts are there when we picked up for any sort of journals, because it has been affected by many factors as far as the journal selection is done, the consideration of the journals by the institutes and universities, and the criteria for, acceptance for this kind of journals from institute and university is going to be differ. So we have to understand many such parameters as far as going for the journal publications and whatsoever things that we have to take into consideration when we are selecting this journal and when we are going for the quality journals, right? And to accept our paper for the quality journals, what all sort of things that we have to take care as far as the acceptance of the paper in the qualitative journal, right? So with that note, I'll just share my screen for the today's presentation, and we will see to it what all things that we can do it. Just confirm the screen sharing if it is visible.
Not now, sir.
I hope it is visible now.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So, citation and research ID. First of all, we all have to, aware about the various part. Why we sometimes lack for getting, publication in good journals. And after having the publications in good journals, why we are lack for the citation parts and all such aspects, right? So we were in the point that whatsoever things that we have to consider as a part of the citation part, right? Because the themes for the today's session is the publication facets and the important points that we have to consideration. So basically, when we talks about the publication, when we think about having the publication in good quality journal, right? So first of all, we have to think about that citation does matters. I hope you all are aware about the H index and I index parameters, right? So I hope it is clear, H index, I index. And many of you might have the research IDs, research platforms where you can showcase your journals, where you can showcase your publications, and where you can showcase your what I can say is your entire profile as a researcher that can be showcased. But that can be possible only when we have the understanding of the quality of the research, right? So basically, why citation matters, and when we talks about citation matters, so citation does matter for our own self also, right? And for the consideration of the paper from the other researcher as a part of the citing their papers to get the idea for our own topic. So citation does matter from the point of view of the researcher who is doing research right now, and the researcher who has already done the research and published his or her article into good quality journals, right? So this is acceptance level from both the sides. And when we accept such kind of articles from the researcher, we are having certain citation index which is called H index and I index. And when we talks about citation, so citation does matter for the quality of the research, because once your research is in the quality journal, once your research is in the quality matter, then only your research will have the consideration. Otherwise, it has very less importance into the market. Then after, we have to link the performance in terms of the good performance index. One of them is KPI, H index, I index, right? And the citation does matter for the university ranking, university affiliation, right? We all are aware about the entire process of the various affiliation which is going on into various institutions and universities in terms of NAC accreditations and many such accreditations that we have been going through. Right. So for this also, we required such kind of accreditation, affiliations and all such aspect. And that's how we can generate the quality assurance certificates, for our university. Right. And university always prefer that whosoever the faculties that they have taken, they should be well versed in terms of the research parameter. And we are talking in terms of the well versed for the research parameter. That is nothing but the efficiency that have been developed by the faculties of the university and institute for writing a good and quality research paper, right? And that's why we have to publish good research work. Then we have to think about these various facets, right? So various facets in terms of why citation does matters. And when we are looking for good quality paper and good writing of the paper, we need to understand that the citation score is always going to matter in terms of the discoverability. What is the discoverability? So your research should be visible to the people, and your research should be visible to the people when your research is in the quality journal. And when we talks about the quality of the research, so your research work should be such like that. It should be implemented to the people, and it should be affected and realized to the natural topic which is in the demand for the society and for the market, right? And that's why research assessment is always there, which is in terms of both quality and quantitative parameters. So quantitative parameter, if I'll talk about, so this is nothing but the citation scores that we have been received for the quality journals, right? And at the same time, whenever we are looking forward for the literature review, or whenever we are looking for the good citation for our own research paper, for our own thesis, or for our own minor research project and major research project, we always go for the journals or the author who have received more citation in terms of their quality of the works, right? So when you know the structure of the research paper, you can have the quality research work, and that could be published in good journals and good qualitative parameters. So when we talks about research, right, so this is part of collaboration, right? The collaboration in terms of we have to think about research institutions, industry partners, and international collaborators, right? So how we can have the good research work? What are the factors that we have to take into consideration while writing a research work? So we must ensure that only academical research work is not going to matters in a coming time period, but we have to come out with such an innovative idea where we have the industry and academia collaboration, right? So that the practical exposures can be fetched from the industry and that can be downloaded in the academic institutions, and that could be surpassed in the minds of students. And that's where we can have the research exposures among the students by letting them understand the practical scenario for the market, right? So this kind of practical research, we need collaboration and partnership, innovation and technology transfer. We must adopt the various technology, patent technology, right? Many of we are doing patent publications, we are going for the grant publications. So these are the important part, and infrastructure and research supervisions and graduate training, right? So these are the important parameters to learn the research. How to begin with? This is now very important part, right? So the theme of the today's session is also like, when we write a research work, how should we make a research paper in a concrete efforts? So the first and foremost parameter that I always prefer whenever I conduct my sessions with all the participants, I always focused and give much more importance on the title of the paper, right? Even if I'm a beginner for the research work, the title should be such that it should speak everything. Means even a layman person can understand 50 to 60% of the research work that has been done by the researcher, right? So title should be very specific. So when I'm saying word is, the title should be very specific, so it has a certain meanings and importance, right? So what should be the title? It completely depends upon the researcher and how he brings the various kinds of variable that he wants to cover up as a part of the study, right? So that means the title should be very specific as far as the research variables and topics is concerned, right? That means the title should cover the major of the variable, that could be the major portion of the analytical point of view of the research, and this analytical point of view will be directly linked with the findings and conclusions. Right, so this is how we have to carry forward the entire legacy for the research throughout the process. And that's where you will be able to publish a good quality research work, and that could be published in the quality journals like a Scopus, ABDC, Web of Science, and so on. Clear? So this is the good quality journals that we must focus. And for that also, we also have to ensure the format and the important parameters that journals has required from the researcher. Now, when we are saying about the title of the research topic, so title of the research topic should be very proper, clearly defined. So when I'm saying clearly defined, so the title should be a funnel process. It should be like this, right? So title should be very funnel process. So I hope you all are aware about the EIC model, right? And I think in the previous session of mine, I have already discussed, if I'm not wrong, that we always start for thinking for the title in terms of economical point of view, right? Then after we also talks, after economy, we always talks about the industry. Just like I think last lecture we have discussed about online banking, FMCG product. Yes or no? Right. So this is a part of industry parameter. And then after, once industry will be decided, which company you want to target, right? So we had also discussed, the Hindustan Unilever, so then after Himalaya, right? So whatsoever companies are there that we have to select as far as the title is concerned. For online banking, we have selected certain, public sector banking. But after doing this, what exactly you are trying to prove? Right. So the one title that we have selected is, we want to study a study on consumer perception towards the FMCG product. Right. So when I'm saying FMCG product, so can you tell me, I have covered the entire three parameters of EIC model or not? Can anybody answer? I have covered entire three parameters in this title of EIC. or there is something missing in this FMCG product, right? So I have covered entire parameters of the research, or you feel that something is missing? Anybody wants to volunteer? Okay. So now I want to let you know that there is something is missing, right? So when I'm asking economical front, I'm asking industry front, that is FMCG product. But where is the company? When I'm saying FMCG product, so FMCG product is restricted up to industry, right? So and that's why in research to frame a title, right? Because this is the first and foremost parameter to write a research paper, right? So whenever you have to frame a title, you always have to start with the broader aspect, that is an economical point of view, right? So economical point of view means I want to conduct a survey in India or any other abroad countries or something like that, or even I can pick up my location like in India I have to cover in Gujarat state, or I want to cover in Madhya Pradesh, right? Whatsoever is my area of study that I have to define, right? So from India, I have decided Gujarat and so on. So this is like economical parameter, right? So from India, I have reached till over here, that is Gujarat or MP. So I have narrowed down from here to here. I have reached over here. Then after I have decided consumer perception towards what? So I have decided FMCG product. So FMCG, I have reached over here. That is nothing but the industry parameter that I have decided, right? Then after industry, there are various companies. So I have restricted myself up to two companies. So this two company is my boundaries, and this is called company parameter. And that's how whenever you answered all such parameters of EIC model, and that's where the research is going to be a funnel process, and that's how you can make your title a concrete way. Now I can reframe my title, a study on consumer perception, right, towards FMCG product with reference to Hindustan Unilever Limited. Looks good, looks perfect. Which was perfect? The first one, a study on consumer perception towards FMCG product, or the second title that I have reframed after doing funnel process, a study on consumer perception towards FMCG product with reference to Hindustan Unilever consumers. Which one is looks good? Is there any answers? Okay. So let's go ahead. I think so. If there is no answer, I feel you have not understood. So I'll again repeat.
Second one, sir.
Yeah. So this is the second one, which have been defined the title in appropriate manner because a study on consumer perception. So I have covered the consumer perception over here, right? So first is consumer perception that I have covered, right? The second parameter is the FMCG product that I want to see to it as a part of my study. So consumer perception, that is variable, FMCG product is a product, right? With reference to Hindustan Unilever Limited. So Unilever Limited, and apart from this, you can also have with reference to Gujarat state or MP, right? Madhya Pradesh. So Madhya Pradesh. So here is the four part, right? This is the four variable that I have been seen in the title. And once I'm seeing this part, I can also see to it that when we talks about perception, it could be primary study. It could be primary study majorly through questionnaire. Okay. Then after FMCG product, Hindustan Unilever and Madhya Pradesh. So the demographic area which I want to see to it, that it is Madhya Pradesh, right? So demographic area is also decided, that is Madhya Pradesh. Okay. Then after, which kind of industry I'm talking about? So I'm talking about the industry of FMCG. This is called company, and I'm going to cover the consumers and not the customers or employees, right? So this is my target audience, right? So when I'm looking at the title, right, and if I'm knowing the research parameters and I know how to utilize such a research parameter, I could be able to answer all such questions into the single line, right? That this is a primary study which focused on the identification of consumer perception towards FMCG product, especially in the Madhya Pradesh area, right? So this is how your title should speak everything, right? So your title should be framed such like. Then last lecture also, my complete influence was on your title. Then after, you have to synchronize with your objective. Objective will be synchronized with the hypothesis. Hypothesis should be synchronized with data analysis, and data analysis should be synchronized with the findings and conclusion. Right. So when this title speaks, right, so the objective will be decided based on the variable which we have selected, that is consumer perception for FMCG product and actual company, basically. Then after, objective based on that, your hypothesis. So hypothesis will be also decided in terms of null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. Data analysis. So depending upon the research objective that we have defined, we can define data analysis tools and techniques, right? So this is how it is called art of writing a good research paper. And believe me, if you have this kind of synchronization in the process, your research is always going to turn out into the quality papers or quality of the the research work that you have to produce to the journals and their market, right? So data analysis in terms of whenever you frame such objectives like significant difference of opinion, right? Likewise, we have discussed in last lecture. So you have to apply parametric and non-parametric test, right? If you are going for association, you can go for the chi-square test. If you are looking for the factors, so you can go for exploratory factor analysis. If you are confirming the factors in terms of the relationship between the factor, you can explain the confirmatory factor analysis. You want to see the difference of opinion in terms of the different kinds of population, so you can go for the cluster analysis, right? So very few people know this kind of tools like a cluster analysis, right? So grouping of the people opinion, right? So what is the meaning of grouping of the people? So if I'm talking about the area of Madhya Pradesh. So in the Madhya Pradesh also there are certain domains of people, and under the domains of people there are certain categories of the people. So if we want to identify the difference of opinion among the subcategory of the people, in the single domain, right? So you must go for the cluster analysis. It's very good useful tools. You divide the data into the different cluster. You have to clear a cluster. I hope we have learned something in research methodology subject like a cluster sampling. Right, so cluster is the cluster of the people, cluster of the data, right? So where the homogeneity of the data have been segregated into different group of people, and each group of people is called a cluster, right? So that was a definition that we have learned from the C.R. Kothari, right? So who is called the father of research methodology, right? So you must have gone through it, right? So in a nutshell, I want to conclude for the title. So that is, your title should be clear. Your research published should be ethical and original. That is completely your own, right? So you have to make sure this, right? And most importantly, your research should be in focused area, right? So if I'm completely doing my research work on consumer perception, so whenever I'm proceeding for the hypothesis and data analysis, so before doing this, in between, I have to define my questionnaire, right? Or I have to define my data collection. So this data collection should be very fundamental point in terms of the focused area that we have to identify, right? And your research paper should be fulfill all fundamental knowledge. So fundamental knowledge in terms of, we are talking about the research methodological parameters, and with the synchronization of that process, we should also know the data analytical tools and techniques that we have to apply, right? So it should be completely aligned with the fundamental knowledge of all such parameters. And once you do all such process, just ask yourself about the quality of work done and its citation process, right? So you must ask yourself whether I have done the quality of the research work. If yes, you must proceed for the publications, right? So this is the most important parameter, being a researcher, that we have to take care, that we must ask ourselves whether this research is a quality in terms of the different parameters of the research that we have to cover, right? And then after, we also have to look forward for the various citation process that we have to right? And whenever you decide any topic, we must ensure that whosoever journals that we are targeting, that we must ensure that we must fulfill the requirement of this journal. In a sense, if I want to say that, there is a one journal called Journal of Marketing. So when I'm talking about Journal of Marketing, so we must ensure that the Journal of Marketing should always provide the relevance for the research in terms of the marketing domain. But if my research is an interdisciplinary, right, so I'm not matching the requirement of the journal to publish my research work, right? So depends upon the research work that you have done. Based on that, you should always focus on selection of the journal, right? So this is the important parameter, that being a researcher, we must ensure to have the quality of research work, getting good citation, and when selecting certain parameters for the research, this is important facets that we all have to ensure as a part of our publications and journal citation process. Clear? Okay. So this is important part. When you are drafting your research work, your objective should be very specific, aligned with the hypothesis. So in the previous slide only, I told you that your research work and your hypothesis should be clearly aligned, and it should be very proper and appropriate, right? So that we all have to ensure that we should not have the mismatch in the process. Just like I told you, here is your objective and here is your hypothesis, right? So it should be aligned with each other, and we must ensure that it should be focused way. Neither of the way, it should not be mismatched, right? If it is mismatched, the ultimate goal to have the good quality title of the research work is not going to fulfill, and ultimately you will get a rejection for the acceptance of the paper, right? So rejection for the acceptance of paper is not a good sign for the researcher, because we had made a lot of efforts, but somehow we got failed in terms of the synchronization of the entire process, right? So we must ensure this. So this is important considerations that we all have to see to it as a part of the research publications, important parameters to publish your paper, right, and getting the good citations. So clearly state the objective. So your objective questions or hypothesis that should reflect what you are going to do, right? So if I'm saying that consumer perception towards online banking, right, so I'm looking for the consumer perception towards the online banking. So perception in regards of what? So I'm looking for the perception in terms of the security, affordability, right, availability, right, market relevance. So all such parameters I always have to look forward as far as I'm looking for the research work, right? So when I'm saying that I have to develop my objectives, so objective should be aligned with the research questions, and research questions should be aligned with the hypothesis, right? So all such process should be in the synchronized way. If at all at any point of time you are having a mismatch in the process, the goal of the title, right? So ultimately the goal of the research work is to prove your title is correct, right? So it's not going to fulfill, and ultimately there is a mismatch in the research title and what research analysis is saying, right? So we must ensure that this should be aligned. It's okay if we are receiving a negative results for our research work, but that should be reflected in the title, that we are not committing anything before starting research work, right? So many, I have seen many a times many titles for the research work, that people are looking that people are writing that a study on positive impact of what I can say, the online banking on the consumer convenience. So if you are saying a positive impact, right, a study on positive impact of consumer perception towards the online banking. So if at all you are saying that it is a positive impact, then I can simply say I didn't find any objective, right? I didn't find any objective to conduct any such kind of study. So you don't commit anything in your title. Your title should be always explanatory. Don't commit. And that's where the objective will be framed, and that's where the identification of problem for the research work is going to be come out. Because if you conclude something, right, then there is no scope of research. And I'm saying there is a positive impact of consumer perception. There is a positive impact of online banking on the consumer perception, right? So if it is a positive impact, then there is no need to study the impact, because you yourself has covered that it is a positive. Then why to cover up, right? Rather, your title should be reframed: a study on positive factors for the online banking in the minds of consumers. So that's where you can identify these are the factors that has been covered as a positive. So did it positive as far as the target audience of Madhya Pradesh is concerned, right? So that is where your study point will become. But again, the title has to be changed. The title has to be reframed. The title has to be properly framed according to the things that you want to incorporate, right? If I want to see the positive impact of consumer factors, so I should not write a study on consumer perception towards online banking, because online banking perception might have positive and negative. Then it is not guaranteed that I will only receive a positive. But if at all I want to cover the research paper in terms of the positive perception, then I should find out the factors for the positive perception, the parameters for the positive perception, and that's where I will receive a positive perception from the people, right? So that is how we have to ensure. Select appropriate methods. So in a previous slide only, I had told you that once your objective will be decided, you have to select the data analysis tools and techniques, appropriate data analysis tools and techniques, and that could be decided based on the objective that we as a researcher has decided, right? So this is called data analysis tools and techniques. So right, so this is ensure feasibility and appropriate methods. So yes, so whether it is your quantitative research, or it is sometimes it is both. So qualitative means it is a review based research work that we are looking for, and quantity means the data based research work, that is a scientific based research work that we are looking for. and and most importantly, whenever we published our research work into quality journal, must ensure that we should follow all the ethical principles and guidelines for the research work. We should not break these guidelines. We should not copy paste the research of other researcher. At the same time, we should not have this self plagiarism. I hope you are aware about the self plagiarism. Yes or no?
No, sir.
सो सेल्फ प्लेगरिज्म का मतलब होता है सेल्फ साइटेशन. सो सेल्फ प्लेजरिज्म का मतलब ये होता है कि व्हेन आई हैव पब्लिश्ड माय पेपर in one journal and at the same time I'm submitting to the other journal, so that's where I'm breaching the law of self plagiarism, right? So this should be always avoided. Even journals are asking, whenever you are submitting the paper, so journals are asking that this research paper has not been published in any of the other research paper, or whether it is in the process or in the past it was published, right? So they are taking assurance from the author, as a part of declaration form, right, that this paper is completely new and fresh, neither it was published by other researcher or nor been published by himself or herself in the past in any of the previous journals, right? So if you consider that, then only your research work has been taken for the further proceeding by the journals, right? So this is called the ethical guidelines, ethical point of view as far as research is concerned, because the same research work you are publishing with just reframing the title, it has no relevance in the market, where people have no benefit. It's just a research, nothing else, right? And that's why data collection tools should be defined. So as I told you, when your title should be specific, right? So here I was trying to find out the consumer perception over here, right? So consumer perception itself has said that I have to go for the primary research. So title should speak everything, right? So data collection tools and techniques should be very specific, right? So in the online banking perceptions for the consumer, I have designed a survey and questionnaires. In a some matters, if you want to take an interview, with that you can. Otherwise, interview is going to be more on qualitative research, techniques. So try to avoid if you don't know the qualitative research techniques. But if at all you want to try in the future, I'll always guide you that you should proceed for the NVivo software training whenever you are look forward for the qualitative research work for your research paper or the thesis. So there is a software called NVivo that you must install and must try it, right? It's a good software, right? So that's where you can get this kind of data. Then ensure reliability and validity. So, when I was teaching you in the previous session, so I told you that you have to ensure the reliability and validity of the data. And I told you that you have to apply the Cronbach alpha, if at all, if you're knowing it. Yes or no? Cronbach alpha, as a
No.
part of reliability test. Do you remember what was the basic parameters to accept the Cronbach alpha value? It should be
Yes, 384.
sorry,
384.
0.7. आप जो 384 बोल रहे हैं वो है सैंपल साइज,
Yes. Okay, sir.
और वो शायद दूसरे सेशन में कवर हुआ है, मैंने नहीं किया था, इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग. Right. So sample size is 384. Right. Do you know why this sample size is 384 only minimum? Do you know what is the logic behind it? Is there any logic for having freezing our sample size minimum to 384?
Yes. Yes. But I now I did not know how to practice.
You didn't know?
No, sir.
Okay. So see, sample size is depends upon the population that you are covering, right? So this is also important part for framing your research work or thesis. So when your population is, will be extended up to how much, right? So your sample size should be based on your population style, right? So your population could be n number, but in research I cannot extend my sample size to the n numbers because I have limited constraint, I have limited budget, I have limited time frame, I have limited access for the different geographical location, right? So after certain amount of population, your sample size should be freezed for 384. Do you know how much sample size I have to cover when I am taking my study from the Indore city? What could be my ideal sample size? Can anybody tell me what is the population of Indore, if at all anybody from Indore? It's a very good example that I want to portray over here. So, what is the population of India? Roughly, I don't know need exactly. 25 lakhs approximately.
Yes.
Right. So 25 lakhs. So what should be the sample size? Okay. If at all I want to cover up my entire research from the MP, Madhya Pradesh, whether it is Indore, Bhopal, Ujjain, whatsoever the place I have it. So total population for the Madhya Pradesh is, I think, 5 to 6 crore or 7 crore. Yes or no?
Probably yes.
Yeah. So what should be the sample size when I'm restricting my research up to Indore city? And what could be the sample size when I have been restricted to, up to MP? So what could be the difference between the sample size that I have to cover? Any rough idea? Because you said that sample size 384. So where should I apply this 384? Is it in Indore or is it in MP?
In MP.
And for Indore?
That is.
For Indore, what should be my sample size? If MP has 384, then for Indore, how much sample size should I cover?
100 or something.
No, it is 384 only. That's
Yes,
what
we
I
have
was.
to include
Sorry.
everyone. As we have to include every individual as one unit, so 384 will be the right.
No, that is not a logic. But after your sample size calculation should be restricted up to the limited population size. But when your population size is going to increase like anything, do you know how to calculate sample size online? Are you aware about it?
No, sir.
So would you like to see?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So if you go to Google, right? So there is a sample size calculator. Just type sample size calculator on Google, right? And click on the any of the link that you want to see. Right. So right now, if at all, even in Indore, let's suppose I want to, because I have come to Indore many a times, and I'm a fan of Indore, especially from the Sharafa Bazaar, right, in the area of Sharafa Bazaar. So if at all I consider, the Sharafa Bazaar population, so minimum is 10,000 approximately, right? So if at all I want to see the consumer perception for the Sharafa Bazaar people, right? So this is a population size that they are asking. So nothing to do with that. If at all you want to change your confidence level, so you can change. But in social science, we usually use 95%. So it is by default given. So that's why the chances of error, that is significant level 5%, right? So that is how we have to calculate. So if this 10,000 has been injected, so I'll just put on calculator, click. So you can see the sample I required is how much?
370.
20, right?
370.
Yeah, so this is up to how much 384 is required. That we have to see. Let's try with 10,500. So it is 384. So can I, 371. So can I go to 14,000? Then see what should be the sample size. Now I reach 374. So up to how much population the sample size may vary, but at what population the sample size is freezed up to 384, right? So that is of what our lookout is. Let's try with 17,000. So 3876. Let's try with 20,000 population. So Sarafa Bazaar plus Chappan Dukan, right? So again it is 377, right? Then after it is 23,000. 378 still. Let's try with 26,000. 379. So you can see this. Now the increase of sample size is little bit slow, but the population size increase is very high, right? So from when I had tried at 10,000, it was 370, and I reached to 26,000 population, it is 379, right? Because when the population size get increased, the ratio of increasing sample size is going to be drastically decreased, because after certain sample size, we have certain limitation. So after certain level, the population is increasing. When we start a research at the base level, so if I have a 10 population, so I can have a 2 sample size. I have 100 population, so I have a 10 samples. But the moment I start increasing, so population size is drastically increasing, but sample size, it's just like what I can say is sleeping inflation, and population is increasing like a running inflation, right? Because we have a limitations that we cannot cover the entire population. And even if I have a thousands and lakhs of population, I only have the restriction to cover up the samples into either hundreds or max to max 1,000. Then after I cannot do it. Let's try with 30,000. So now see this, from 26 to 30, the sample size increase is only 1, right? Let's try with 35. No increased. See, let's try 45. So only 31, 381. So after 15,000, only 1 sample size. Let's try 60,000. 382 only. See, 15,000, only 1 sample size. Let's try 80,000. Only 383. Now we are reaching to the nearest, right? So one of the person has answered 384. So now 90,000. Let's try if it is 384. No, still it is 383. Let's try 199,000. 99,999. Still it is 383. Let's try 1 lakh. Just increase one population and see the magic. Still it is 1 lakh. 1 lakh 10,000, 383, right? So still it is freezed. 1 lakh 20,000 population, 383. Still it is freezed. 1 lakh 30. Now it is 384. So I hope I have answered your question. Right. So you had told me that minimum is 384, but for this 384, the minimum population is required is 130. So from 1,30,000 of population to the n number of population, your sample size is freezed. I hope I have answered.
Okay, sir.
Clear? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. So then after I want to ask, I want to answer a few important parameter, because this theoretical things will be go on, right? But I want to show you some important part. How many of you are having your ORCID ID? Please type in the chat box. How many of you are having your ORCID ID? ORCID. ORCID. You have a ORCID ID for research work. Do you have it? Quickly. If yes, if no, what should be your answer? So quickly we can go ahead with this. Because when we talks about this, many important facets and parameters for as a factor for the research work, we must ensure that this be known. Yeah, okay. So you don't have it, right? So let's go ahead. So this is an ORCID ID that you all have to create, right? This is ORCID ID. So this is called a research gateway for all the researchers, right? So this is called a research gateway. So this is an ORCID ID. So whenever you have your quality research work, right, so it get published over here, right? And whenever you published your paper to any other journal for the research article publication, so you don't have to, prove your research work. Journal itself will receive all the information of a researcher by just using the ORCID ID. Right. So I have my own ORCID ID. So let me go ahead. What is exactly? Uh, yeah. Yeah. So this is my ORCID ID 000. So this is 16-digit ORCID ID that we all have to inject, right? And then you have to enter the password. Yeah. So you can see this ORCID ID over here. So the moment I entered into ORCID ID, so ORCID ID will display everything, right? So whenever you are going for research work and, if you are looking for the research paper or, research publications of any of the authors, right? So how can you decide that this particular research work is a qualitative, and how can we follow this research work as a part of important parameters, right? So we always have to look forward. Just a minute. Okay. So we always have to look for this kind of research IDs that we all have to create, and this IDs can be help you to identify the good researchers from the market for having good citations for our own paper. Because the building can be constructed when your pillar are very strong, and the strong pillar can be created for the research by looking at the strong researcher. And when you are looking and hunting for the strong researcher, you should look forward for the research IDs that are having profile. So if you like some author's paper, if you want to connect him, right, many of these Scopus journals are not free, whenever you want to see the articles of this journal, so they are not free, right? For that we have to pay something, right? And if at all you are not in a position, but still if you feel that let me approach to that researcher and try to get the article, if at all it is possible, so you may go through this kind of ideas, right? Many of times people are saying that I have mailed them to give their papers to me. So this is the way to mail them. So here is the researcher email ID is also given. If at all you like the research work of any researcher, so you can email them over here. If at all the country's name is over here, so right. So if researcher wants to help you out, so you can. So here is your employment history will be shown over here. Right. So the entire detail of the researcher will be there. Here is the researcher's education and qualification. Possible, right? So it will be very useful for getting citations and connecting from the people from every part of the nation. So this is a professional activity that has been done by the researcher, right? So this is how you can put all things over here. Fine. So this is very good platforms over here. So this is how the things is going to be. So if at all, if you have been awarded something or funding something, right? So this is a funding part is over here. Research in shown here, DC journal. So this is shown here, right? Then after, if at all you have done for any peer reviewed, so if at all you have performed certain roles, so this is not a, this is not a detail which I have been, it only. This is the reviewer role, if at all you have done for any of the journal. So this is one of the journal for which I have been published as a role of reviewer in Scopus Q1 journal. So this is how the entire, this is very difficult task, right? So whenever you are looking forward for this kind of one of the activity, so very difficult task to perform all these things. Reason you cannot inject your data, but it can fetch the detail from the respective websites only. I cannot enter that I have my publication in Scopus so that I can enter my paper, right? But it is automatically fetched from the Scopus ID, right? If at all I automatically the the reviewer activity which I have done it. Certificates to me, and this could be reflected within 24 hours in my ORCID ID. So this is one of the important platform for all the researcher to have the good research profile and having a good citations for themselves also. And this is also important for creating your platforms as a researcher, and you can here explore yourself in terms of a good researcher. That is another important platform for the researcher. If at all researcher can citation and the find out the good citation authors where they can approach. All Google Scholar papers are not quality journals, right? Because all quality journal papers are not free. They are not open access, right? For which we have to pay some prices, right? And if at all you feel that I'm not in a position, I'm middle level learner, right? Or if at all if I am interested for research and I want to approach any researcher for their article, so I can write the mail and have the access of the paper if at all it is allowed by the researcher, right? So this is good platform. So you must explore this platform wherever you go, get a time, because there are so many features in this, right? So there is a separate sessions that we can cover up, how to increase your citation score. So I have multiple platforms to show you how to increase your citation scores, right? So these are the very good platforms for the researcher to explore themselves and to have the good citation and publish your paper, have a connection with each other. So many times what happens that we stop the communication from each other, we stop the exploring the research work from each other, and that's where we get struggle, that's where we get frustrated, and that's where we are failed to assess all such kind of activities from the researcher, right? So we must explore this kind of platforms. Okay, so let's go. There is another platform. I hope it is useful for all of you. So there is another platform called InflipNet. Yeah, I think one has raised a query. Vivek Rastogi, sir, please, sir.
Good evening, sir. Sir, my
Yep.
question is something different. Sir,
Uh,
we have registered, as I have seen your profile, we have registered also in Madan Mohan Malviya Teachers Training Program. So, sir, my
yeah.
question is this: I am unable to find the guest and videos over there. It is self-assessment, self-study based videos. Sir, I want to aware about that.
Sir, Madan Mohan Malia Training Center was earlier known for UGC HRDCs,
Yes,
Human
absolutely
Resource
right.
Development Centers. Right.
Yes,
So
sir.
where the orientation program and refresher programs for the various topics of research and many other social sciencing and many journals topics are going on. Right. So
Yes,
it
sir.
is self-made courses run by the UGC with the consultation of the various state and central universities. Right. So it is
Okay, good,
completely
sir.
depends upon the HRDCs whether they want to publish their video on YouTube or they want to restrict their rights to the access of the participants only.
Sir, videos are available, but they have told us that there is something assessment after 1 week or 1 month.
Yeah, that is a
But
part of
we,
it because they want to award you the grades for completion of the training,
oh, sir, right, sir,
right? Yeah.
right, sir. That's why I have see that that is self-based study, self-learning based study.
Not self-learning. They had made their own videos. You have to go through it and right. Not all MMTTC modules are having such kind of practices. There are certain MMTTC which is having their own resource person for which the regular sessions are going either through online like this, right, and then have the assessment. But yeah, many MMTC program are like this only, right? So it depends upon the university and the curriculum that they follows. Okay.
Thank you,
So
sir.
this is important parameter which I told you. Then after one important things that I want to cover over here. So your structure of paper, right? So this is the part of the today's discussion. So how you can structure your paper. So structure of paper we have already discussed, but again I'll reflect over here. So there are mainly five parts. That is one is introduction. Second is literature review that we always look forward and which is called a backbone for all the research work. Third is research methodology. Fourth is data analysis and interpretation. And fifth is findings and conclusion. Clear? So this is introduction, literature review, research methodology. Again, research methodology have 13 parameters to be followed, and data analysis interpretation should be followed with all the necessary data analysis in terms of the tables, charts, and interpretation. Right. So these are the important parameters that we all have to look forward. Right. And whenever I told you in the previous session also, so whenever you want to have good researcher, if you are looking for the important facets of writing a research paper and the citation parameter, you must follow the one important rule for the research work is you should avoid the jargons and technical language because you are a technical people. That's where you understand and that's why you are conducting a research work. But once you are conducting your research work, it is your duty and responsibility to try to convert themselves into a layman things, and so that this research should be published in layman language with scientific tools and application of research, so that the layman person can understand, right, that this is the part of the important things in the research, and that is what this research speaks out, right? So layman person should not lose the importance, or you should not allow them to lose the you know the interest in the research paper that they are referring, right? It should be very clear, precise, and it should be in scholarly manner, means it should be in the format of the ideal research paper and research work. You should not follow your own format, right? So you should follow the format of research work because Whenever researchers are reading your research paper, they are having their expectations that this parameter, this answer should be gettable, right? So you should not change the rules for the research. You must obey the rules and regulations for the research publications, right, and ethics. And that's where you are ease down the efforts that have been made by the readers. And then after, there is a citation approach, there is a citation sources, right? So I hope you all are aware about the various citations. I think I had shown you the Zotero and the Mendeley software in the last lecture. Yes or no?
No, sir.
We have not seen Zotero and Mendeley.
No, sir.
Okay, so let me show you, because citation is very. Do you know how to? Okay, so let's. Whenever you are writing a research, difference that I already told you in the previous class. So referencing means the sources which we have only referred, we have not cited them. That is called references. But the papers which we have referred and we have cited, right? So this kind of papers and research work is to be considered as a bibliography. Clear? So there is a difference between referencing and bibliography. So bibliography means the paper which we have actually cited called a backbone, the structure of our research paper. Our research work as a part of literature review, or to have the idea of any of the parameter. We have just gone through this particular article. We have just taken. So this is called a reference. So let's Scholar. So this is Google Scholar ID. I hope you have created your IDs on Google Scholar also, and you must help you to get the citation also. So here I want to see, the study on consumer perception towards online, right? I'm not writing in MP or Madhya Pradesh. Let's say I'm writing in Madhya Pradesh, right? Right. So let's see how many papers are there. So you can see this. Yeah. So first paper itself is in Indore district. Papers which have been drafted on Indore, right? Because it is a hub of MP. So yes. So this is a paper which I have seen it. So this is the paper which I have cited in my research work. So this is option called cite, right? Which is in inverted comma the option called cite, which we have to explore. So cite, this is in MLA style, this is in APA style, this is in Chicago style, this is in Harvard style, and this is in Vancouver style, right? And if at all, if you want the EndNote, BibTeX, so these options are also available. So the moment you click this EndNotes and BibTeX, so it will try to get it downloaded, right? So you can see this is a BibTeX options is available over here. So if at all you want to go for BibTeX option, so this is the way the BibTeX has been planned based on the software. But I think it is not much relevance for us. The main thing is the citation. So basically we are following APA citation. So you can just click over here, Control A, Control C, and you just paste it into the Word file. Right. So you just open the MS Word file and try to get it pest. So this is an important parameter when you draft your research paper, that your referencing should be very proper and in the format because when you are focusing on the quality journal, so they will look forward for all such parameters very minutely. If at all you are missing any such parameters into the research work, you will have a highly chances to get the rejection or revision of the work. So try to avoid such kind of practices, and you should provide your work thoroughly from the initial part of itself. So here is your citation. Is it done? So this is APA style citation. So when we talks about APA level citation, so there are certain criteria for APA style. Let me show you. Okay, so there are various criteria for the citation also. So that also we have to look forward. Okay, so anyways, fine. So so this is a Word file which I have cited. So this part is called author name, right? Then this part is called the title of the research paper that we have to cite. Then after so this is the important part. So this is called title of the research work. Then after this is the name of the journal, that is International Journal of Business and Management Invention. This is ISSN number. But again, this is one part is missing, that is page number. So if at all it has not been injected properly, so you can go into PDF and see to it which page number is that. So that page number, if it is missing, and you can manually add these details. So here is the page number. So you can see this, the page number 1 to it is page number 6. So you can include like this, right? Page number 1 to 6. Or else if you don't write anything, just write 01 to 06. So it is considered to be a page number, right? So this is how you can take the citation or referencing, from bibliography from the what I can say, Google Scholar, right? Which is important parameter for our research work. So this is bibliography that you can create, right? But if at all I want to create this bibliography into Word file itself, right? So there is an option called references. Are you aware about it? References. How to insert
Yes, sir.
references? Yeah,
Yes,
manually. So
sir.
I'm not going into detail of it. So you had requested me for the Zotero, how to manage your sources for Zotero. So for Zotero, you have to go into this. So this is a software called Zotero. I think there is a training for Zotero and Mendeley for 2 hours, 3 hours session. And I won't be able to cover up everything, but at least I'll just show you the glimpse of the Zotero, how Zotero is going to be work. So this is a Zotero software, where you can have the citation part. So this is the Zotero. So if at all I want to input my paper over here, so there are various ways through which I can include my paper over here, right? So this is how I can include my paper, and these are the ways to include the paper, right? So these are the various things that I can do it. But again, I have to include a journal article, right? So if at all I will type the journal name article over here, so that also included. But let's suppose if I want to, just a second, it is a registered company, so it will fetch the detail. So can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, anyway, so this is not tracking of online citation part. So anyways, so if it is not possible, then there is another way, right? So you just download this article. If it is not happening, then you just download this article in your PCs or laptop. I'm just putting download, and I'm downloading this paper into download option, which is, the name is A033 and Ab Libre. So I have just downloaded this paper. Okay. So then after, I go into Zotero and I'll go into download option, right? So where I have this download option. So this is a file which I have downloaded, and I'll go into Zotero. I'll go into Zotero. Okay. I'll again do it. I'll go into Zotero. Yeah. Just drop this file here. Can you see this? This file has been uploaded. You see this research paper has been uploaded here,
Yes, sir.
right? But this is only peer-reviewed journal, so that the article is not getting fetched over here, right? But if at all, if you have the good quality papers like Scopus ABDC, so I had one paper over here, right? So so if at all you have such kind of paper, so you can easily drag over here, and Zotero will cover up everything, every details of it. So here you can see that it is not covering, right? But yeah, research article is already fetched here, right? So it is there. But yes, this is one of the paper which I have it in Scopus ABDC journal. So you can see this, the moment I have pasted this article over here, the detail has been automatically fetched, right? So detail has been automatically fetched, and the article is also already there. And you can see this, my ORCID ID also on the publication, right? So it is directly linked. So if at all, the purpose of saying is, if at all I want to cite from the Zotero, I have one paper from the Zotero, right? So if at all I want to cite any sort of paper, so from the Zotero, so here is the Zotero option, I have it, right? So add or edit citation, if I'll go to it, right? So here they are asking which citation style you are preferring, right? So there are multiple citation style is here. IEEE, Chicago, 7th edition. So basically we are following APA style 7th edition. So if I'll click OK, right? This is their Zotero, search option is activated. So which title I want to find out? So I have the article called Stock Prices. That is the effect of behavioral biases on investors' mindset, right? So I have just enter over here. So they are just asking where I have to cite, but I don't have any content. So right now it is entered over here. So you can see this, it is already there. Yes or no? It is already injected. So whenever you have the reference management like a Zotero, so many important parameters of the research paper is to have a systematic literature review. So whatsoever, whenever you are pasting certain articles in literature review, let's suppose I have this paragraph, right? Let's suppose I have written this paragraph, right? And I want to do the systematic literature review, between the articles. So I can do it whenever I have pasted the references into Zotero, right? So Zotero will work out for all of us very properly in terms of the management of the citations for all sorts of research work that we have done it. Clear? So this is one of the paragraph which I have it. And if I want to do the systematic literature review based on this, so if at all I have managed my all the papers and referencing into the Zotero, so Zotero will directly help you out. You don't have to find out. Even if you just enter the variable name, right? If you just enter the variable name, let's suppose I want to enter a stock prices. So the moment I enter stock, I have the one paper. If at all you have 10 papers, so they will show you which paper you want to cite, right? So you don't have to write anything. Just type STO it will give you suggestion, right? So every time whenever you are doing a citation in Word for manually or from the Google Scholar, you have to go for Google Scholar also, you have to cite them. But whenever you use a Zotero, so Zotero will work like this, right? And the moment I have selected paper here and press enter, so it will inject it over here, right? So here you can see this, the citation has been already injected in between wherever I want to see that that this particular author has said this particular line. You can see this. I'm just putting high. So this is how you can do the systematic literature review. And at the end, once your referencing has been done, right? So same way you have done like this bibliography. At the end, once your systematic literature review is done, and let's suppose you have taken 20 to 25 papers over here. So you just go to the referencing and you can see this option called add or edit bibliography, right? So it will help you to add a bibliography. You can see this. It is added as per the journal format. You can see this. Agreed? And here it is only one paper. If at all I have cited 25 papers, so it will inject 25 papers over here. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do manually in the Word file. I don't have to go to Google Scholar again after writing my literature review. What is the citation? Nothing to do. Just enter it and your work will be done. Even in Zotero, right? If at all, if I'm going into such paper, so even you can have the access of the paper directly. You don't have to go to any website, and you can have the access and glance of the paper straight away from the here. So the moment, whenever you are doing literature review, the moment you have completed taking the content from the paper, you can directly cite those papers into Word file by having such systematic literature review facility. And after doing systematic literature review for 100 or 200 plus authors, you just add or edit bibliography. You will have your citation ready with this format straight away. Your work is done, finished, completely okay. Yeah. So within a fraction of time, we will be able to structurize our literature review straight away. Clear. So software can ease our life, and we must utilize use the software. And you can see this. The Zotero is also providing the DOI number of the journal papers. Right. So if at all in future, if you want to find out any articles, from the journal article, so you just type into Google this DOI number. So straight away you will have the paper in your hand. Straight away you have the paper in your hand along with the journal websites. So you can see this. I have pasted over here the DOI number of the article, and you can see this. I have directly tracked to the ABDC journal website where I have my article, and you can see this DOI number over here. So I don't have to find anywhere my paper, and this is a paper which is available, and everything you can get it from here. Fine enough, everyone. Clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Right. So this is how we can explore ourselves in terms of important parameters of writing research paper and everything aspect. Right. So I think that's it from myself today. If at all you want to explore something new which you want to know, or if you have any sort of query right now, so you can ask me. I'm ready to solve it.
Good evening, sir. Sir, you
Yes.
have discussed before the quantitative analysis software, NVD or something type.
Yeah.
So what is the name of the software and how we use for that?
Sir, Envivo software is like right now I have I have this FTPs going on, and the recording of the session is also going on. Right. So in this, let's suppose if I am surveying on the perception of consumer since last 1.5 hours, for which
Yes,
I
sir.
have given my opinion, so I have recorded audios, visuals, right? So that audio visual I can inject into NVivo software. So NVivo software will find out and fetch the important words that have been noted during the session. So let's suppose I always impose on the importance of the research work for the society, the synchronization of research process. So if at all I have to conclude my research work, the research session for the today. So you can conclude that I have focused on many parameters of research how to improve your citation, how to look forward for the quality journal. So if you come to the conclusion of this kind of session, so you might have to refer my session one time or two time for 1.5 hours. But if at all you are looking for the research work, so NVivo is a software which can give you the important glimpse of the particular audio or video sessions, through the structurization of the word formats, right? So which words have been called for the maximum time, so they have been highlighted by the high bullet points. Which words have been highlighted moderate times, so they have the moderate bullet points. And which word have been highlighted for minor times, so they have been very little font size. Clear? So this is how the NVivo software is working on quality research work, where I'm not collecting any sort of quantitative data, for the stock market or from the questionnaire from the research work or through the survey form. Clear?
Thanks, sir. Good, good. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other queries? Please ask me. How do we identify? If at all, if you can unmute yourself, that would be better, because clarity of the question should come from the participants only. Uh, how do we identify in which platform should we publish our paper? So platforms are very clear in terms of the publication, that we always look for the quality journals, right? If at all I am a researcher, I always look forward for the ABDC Scopus, kind of journals. So there are various websites through which you can access the quality of the journals that you are looking for, right? Where the publication ethics and the originality of the journal, that always should be verified from your end, and then after we should proceed. Yeah, any other questions? How can we get a Zotero? So Zotero is available on the website, so you can have the access of the Zotero, right? And if you feel any problem, so you can reach out to me. I will share with the setting and software which I have it, so you can have the installation part also. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? I hope the things are clear as far as the research and important citation parameters, an important part of the structure for writing a research paper, and which part of the parameters should you focus, and most of the part, because many a times I have seen a research paper like people are writing 3 to 4 chapters in terms of the introduction part. That's where your research lose the importance and attractions in the mind of the people, which you always try to avoid it. It's always better to not write anything rather than bluffing in the papers. That is a highly advisable advice that I want to give it to you on this platform, right? So research should be based on the things that you need to justify from your own parameters, right? You should be very clear as far as the research is concerned, and the moment you start doing it, you will enjoy, right? So try to dive into the sea of research. Once you start learning for the swimming into the sea, you will enjoy like anything, and that would be a greatest journey for your life as a part of the academic fraternity and in the academic life. Yeah, so that would be a greatest journey if you can try to take a risk at the initial level, then after the journey will be very bright. So I hope I have answered all the queries. Still, if you have any questions, you can ask. So I think that's it from my side, Saloni madam. So
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for an enriching and insightful session. It was truly wonderful and informative. Thank you, all the participants, for your active participation. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you.